Norman Powell to the Bulls actually has some legs. And is Max Strus on his way back to Chicago? Let's talk about all that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel or just haven't had a chance to do so, I know sometimes you guys click on the video and just jump in and start listening to the news, but hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave the 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. And if you want to, share this thing up to everybody who is a Bulls fan in your circle and or all the Bulls pages, because I think this is a very, very interesting one here. Is Joe Cowley going out on Twitter today and not only confirming that the Norman Powell rumors actually have some legs, but also that Max Strus might be a name to watch for. Here's the tweet. According to a source, the Norman Powell rumors have some legs. And also keep an eye on Cleveland with Max Strus trade. Powell is a free agent while Strus has a year left at $16.6 million with the Cavs in the second apron. He's always wanted to be a Bull. In fact, we actually had him here in the building. He literally just wanted to play for the team, went to DePaul, all those good things. And then the Bulls were like, yeah, we got a spot for you, whatever you need, man. Get the heck up out of here. I believe we got rid of him and Spencer Dinwiddie in the same offseason, if I'm not mistaken. So y'all can fact check me on that, but I believe that was the same offseason. But here's the reality of it. Two names as far as role players go that I would be very, very interested in. Now, if you were to go the Norman Powell route, right, 33 years old, a veteran player, definitely has some leadership, has some championship experience with him as well. And when you look at what he was able to do last season, 21 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists on 47% shooting from the field. I think that when you talk about somebody being able to come in and make an impact pretty quickly there, you feel good about what Norman Powell could bring to this team on a multitude of fronts. And I'm sitting here looking this up now. I thought I had this on here, but it did not translate over. In his time with the Miami Heat, 58 games last season, he shot 38% from the three-point line. That year before with the Clippers, he was a 41% three-point shooter. So somebody who can come in, can give you the three ball. I think probably is more of a in the rhythm kind of player, but somebody who I feel like, you could bring in that could create their own shot, but doesn't get in the way. And I think the biggest thing is, right, the reality of bringing a guy in who knows the role that he's probably going to be in, who knows the role of, hey, yeah, I'm here for now and I want to get the bag. And I think the Bulls would probably have to pay, I mean, you're having a conversation around that 18 to 20-ish million with Norman Powell, if not more, because of course you're going to have to pay more if you want to bring a player in like a Norman Powell, where he's not going to a championship roster, right? Where he probably is looking out at his options and saying, I want to go somewhere where I can compete. I want to go somewhere where I can win. Chicago's probably not going to be viewed as that. So maybe you even have to pay a little bit more there. But what I do love about if you go get Norman Powell, you get a player that still has some impact on the court right now and can be a guy who, further down in his career, if you sign him to a multi-year deal here, I said on Locked On Bulls yesterday, I'd love to get him in here on a 3 to 4 year deal, de-escalating. You start off with the number high right now, right? Because you're going to have to pay a little bit more up front to get him in here. But by the end of that contract, it starts to come down as you get closer to having to pay guys like Modest, as you get closer to having to pay guys like Giddey again, potentially, preparing for Caleb Wilson to get a payday early if he shows you that he is that level of player, right? Like, I love having a veteran guy like that on the team to just show young guys, listen, this is how you work. This is how you get yourself prepared for the game. This is how you get yourself mentally ready to go out there and do the things that we know that you can do, because so much of the game also is mental. It's not just the physical. It's not just the gifts. If you don't have the right mindset in this game, I think it can make it very difficult. And I think he'd be beneficial to a player like Dalen Swain, because you look at Norman Powell, and I know I dropped the video yesterday, right, saying what would I rather have, veteran presence or an impact player. Norman Powell is more of an impact player. He's going to impact the game, but he still brings some of that veteran presence as well, where I think the mentoring he could give to a guy like Dalen Swain, who's taken 15 overall, who probably comes in and looks around and goes, well, why can't I be a starter on the team if everybody else is getting this opportunity? Norman Powell's been a bench player for most of his career, and you see the numbers he's able to put up when he's able to start. How do you deal with that mentally? How do you still put your best foot forward offensively, defensively, knowing that you're not getting the minutes that maybe you feel you should be getting? I think that could be very beneficial to the Chicago Bulls moving forward, and I think it's something that you could definitely see them needing in the near future, especially with some of the players. Let me know how you guys feel about Norman Powell. Is he somebody that you would like to go out there and invest? I mean, you'd probably be investing a pretty penny in Norman Powell. You're not getting Norman Powell for a $10 million deal. I mean, to me, let's see here. Let me look up Norman Powell's last contract. By the way, coming off of his first All-Star game appearance as well. So he's elevated his game a lot throughout his career. Yeah, I mean, he's coming off of a $20 million deal. He's also coming off of one of his best seasons that he has had to this point. Like I said, probably around that range to me, if you were going to go after a player like him. And it's why the Miami Heat, and for those who are going to say, I would never pay that for Norman Powell, I would get him for $12 million. It's why the Miami Heat can't keep him, right? Because it is going to be probably around that $18 to $20 million conversation. And at 33 years old, maybe you're able to get it closer to the 18 than the 20, but it's going to be too much for Miami to keep him, which is why he's in fact available to you. So like I said, let me know how you guys feel down in the comments below. Would that be somebody that you would be interested in? Another name that was brought up in the tweet from Joe Cowley in the confirmation was Max Strus. And I thought Max Strus to me was a very interesting player because it truly speaks to, hey, we just want a guy that can come in here and do the job. But at the end of the day, the kids are playing. The kids have to be the one that are leading the way. It's going to be on Modest. It's going to be on the shoulders of Caleb Wilson. It's going to be on the shoulders of Josh Giddey and some of the guys that we may still have coming off of the bench here. But we want these kids to play. We're going to go out there. We're going to absorb a contract for something that we need, which is shooting with Max Strus. And I think, when you talk about a player like Max Strus, that's what you're hoping that he's able to bring, right? A 3-and-D wing, leaning more heavily on the 3 than the deep. Pause. That's crazy. Jesus Christ, Pat. Leaning more heavily on the 3-point shooting than the defense there. But somebody who, can make an impact on both sides of the floor, but definitely brings you that shooting. When you look at what Max Strus was able to do last season in Cleveland, right? 11 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, had 2 assists per game, but 44% from the 3-point line. And here's the thing about Max Strus that I think most people key in on with him. Yet again, coming off of one of his best seasons shooting the 3 ball. We've said this over the last few seasons here. Coming off of one of his best seasons shooting that 3 ball, 41% from the 3-point line. So an ability to go out there and get the job done from that 3-point line, right? An ability to be someone that you could count on. I feel like Strus probably more of a catch and shoot player. What would he be like with a player like Josh Giddey next to him? He's been playing with Donovan Mitchell, right? And Donovan Mitchell more of a scoring guard. Josh Giddey more of a guy that's going to be able to get you involved. Also coming off the bench with Trey Jones. I think that this would be a really good combination for the Chicago Bulls. But again, right, this would be, as crazy as it is to say, you're going the cheaper route with a guy like Strus, right? And this is a 1-year deal that he's still on. You're probably talking about him, I would assume, getting extended if you did bring him in here at some point, because you love the value of the 3 ball that he can bring, and you love the kind of player that he can be on the court. Even when you watched him in the playoffs at times, right, you've seen Max Strus have some really, really big moments. And here's the bottom line of it, right? You now have a player in here who's wanted to be a Bull, as Joe Cowley said, just about his entire career. He was with the Bulls here. I believe they picked him up on a undrafted free agent deal early on in his career. He played at DePaul. He is a Bulls fan. He has been a Bulls fan. All right, like that is the kind of player that you wanted in the building, but you end up moving on from that guy. Like I said, I believe with Spencer Dinwiddie. Those are the things, though, that I look at and I say these are the ones that if you go out there and you add this piece here, right, no matter which one it is, these are the guys that you want to have on your team. Maybe Strus not as much from a veteran presence, but as far as the production standpoint goes, as far as, hey, we need a guy that can knock down the three that we can count on. I think that Max Strus can be that. You've seen that on a pretty consistent basis with him. And consistency, the key word in all of that, right? The bottom line for what I care about with the Bulls bringing a player in, a veteran in, is can he do it on a night in, night out basis? I'll be honest with you, with Norman Powell, I don't know what was happening in that playoff series last year where they just decided not to play Norman Powell. But with Norman Powell, he's a pretty consistent player. He's a guy that you can throw out there on a pretty game in and game out basis. He's going to give you that 18 to 20 points, and you can get you know what you can expect from him on a night in, night out basis. Same with Max Strus as far as the 3-point shooting goes. I'm not going to say that everything is mad consistent, but he'd probably get more of an opportunity to play here than we have seen him have anywhere else, because he would be not a shooter on the team, which he's kind of been on Philly, which he's kind of been on Cleveland, right? But he would be the shooter on this team. And so I really like Max Strus. I think he'd be a player that if you were to trade for him, right, could you get a low value trade, or could you trade, a couple of these 37 second round picks that the Chicago Bulls have and absorb that contract and utilize him for one of the, I believe, 2 roster spots that you have remaining? I wouldn't be mad at that. And then you've got shooting somewhat addressed. I would say you still need to go out there and find another shooter and hope that somebody develops into that on your team. But hey, man, let me know how you guys feel down in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you guys as well. Norman Powell, Max Strus, do you like either one of those guys? Heck, do you like both of those guys? I don't think the Bulls are going to create money for both of those guys, right? We're not going into the apron territory. We're not in, I don't think they're cutting anybody at this point. You've kind of got the team that you've got. So they've still got about $30 million to play with. I doubt you're going to end up getting both of these guys. But if you could find a way to do it, would you take on both of these guys? Another crazy one. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. As always, it's your boy, Pat the Designer. Back at it again. See Red Nation. Make sure that you're standing up, man. Peace.